Hi there, Malcolm here for my 340th Booktube video, and today I'll be bringing you a review for Marvel Select Wakanda. This is a reprint of Wakanda, which was originally in 2022, and this one is effectively 5 disparate stories set in and around Wakanda, or with the people of Wakanda, interspersed with the history of the Black Panthers. Now, I don't know much about Wakanda beyond what I've seen in the 2 MCU movies and their related appearances in the wider MCU. So I did come into this with a huge level of ignorance about who a lot of the characters are, because if they weren't on screen, I don't know who they are, and obviously they have changed quite a lot about these characters to put them on screen. So what I know isn't that accurate anyway, because I'm only going by what the MCU has done rather than what they are actually supposed to be. I'll quickly go through them. So the first story is titled Shuri, and follows Shuri as she's picking up the pieces after her brother's been exiled or something. I don't quite know what's going on. And Rhino has managed to sneak his way into Wakanda to cause a bit of chaos. There's something else going on. She takes up the Black Panther mantle to a degree, and the story is sort of vaguely wrapped up, but with a to be continued, and I was just left unfulfilled. All these stories are like one-shot stories where you get introduced these characters, introduce these settings, and then just as you get going and getting a hang of who's who and what's what, it's like, well, that's it, that's the end of the story, we'll move on to the next one. I was prepared for 5 short stories. I was expecting one longer one, immerse myself in the Wakandan history properly, but no, you get a short story, a pretty intensive blow-by-blow of some of the history of Wakanda. These pages crop up throughout the book. Really interesting, but this is both a fiction and a non-fiction book, in that they've got the non-fiction facts about the Wakandan world. I know it's all fictional, but when they talk about what comic this featured in and when this was introduced in, that's technically non-fiction. It's a bit weird, but the second one's called Reverberations, and it's set in space on the planet Bast, and there's a whole host of things that have happened, and I basically didn't know what was going on for most of this. It was quite snazzy and funky, but again, by the time I got to know what was going on, that story had wrapped up, and it's a case of back into the history of Wakanda again. The third one is The Colour of Death, where we follow Killmonger and a group of like-minded individuals climbing a mountain to be the first to get to the top. And as they're climbing, it becomes very apparent that each one has been given a order to kill one of the other members of the team. That was really interesting and quite exciting, and I suppose is one of the more self-contained short stories. I was fulfilled with that story, but I'm still trying to work out what happened in the last one. Then there's The Other Path. I'm not quite sure when it's set. I think it's set further down or further back in the timeline. I don't know. But it follows a Black Panther type character and a witch type character. Neither of them should meet, of course. These two love each other, and they team up to deal with the bad guy. And actually it's a case of, well, actually, this is the best of both worlds, why don't we do this more often, sort of thing. Yeah, really good, really enjoyed that one. Again, it finished too early. I wanted more with those characters in that world. That was really good. And then we finished off with Without Question, following Okoye and her niece as she's training her up, and the villain from the first story props up again, causing a bit of chaos and what have you. And we really learn more about the fact that Okoye doesn't give an inch. That whole Without Question really is hammered home with that one. Absolutely brilliant story, that one. And it does kind of give you closure for the first story. So the way, you do end up with at least 2 contained stories. The first one's a 2-parter with the last one. And the Killmonger one, like I said, is all self-contained. But the other 2, I wanted more, I needed more. And unfortunately, we then got bogged down with the Wakandan history, which was interesting. And I think it's better having broken it up that way rather than having a huge great slog through just all these facts about Wakanda and the history of it. But most of Marvel Select have been quite light and fluffy. I wouldn't say light and fluffy, but really easy to read. You went through them, you enjoy the story. There's some thought-provoking stuff that happens, but that's it. You can then move on to the next one. This one is not light and fluffy. This is heavy and crunchy. There's a lot to dwell on. There's a lot to ingest with this one. Yeah, I would say this is worth buying. I was slightly wrong-footed with it, but then that was my expectations of what I was going to get going into it. It's not the book's fault that I had expectations. Do recommend it, particularly if you enjoy the Wakanda films and want to know a little bit more, or a lot more, about the characters, about the history, how a lot of the things came to be. And of course, it's not tied into the MCU. It is its own original thing. And going through the history, you can also see how the Avengers have been fed into it as well, and the various adventures that they go into. Good stuff. So, have you read Wakanda? What's your favourite Black Panther Wakanda story? Let me know in the comment section down below, but as usual, if you have nothing nice to say, then please keep it to yourself. Thank you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and other YouTube things if you want. Until next time, see you later.